the bottom of the page. Okay, so the last thing we learned about was if you said certain words, we had a machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Chacham, and then we decided, which is Ameir, and then we decided that the entire mission actually is Rabbi Yehuda, that even that you have to say with a chaf, you have to say that it should be compared to a sheep, a flock of sheep, a barn, all that. If you omit the chaf, then it is meaningless. That's what we learned in the previous mission. Says the Mishnah here, if somebody says korban oila, if somebody says that it should be a korban oila or a mincha, or somebody says it should be a mincha. So we're starting from the Mishnah. If somebody says korban oila, that this bread, whatever this meat should be a korban oila, or what he said, whatever I'm going to eat by you is a korban oila or a mincha or a chatas. So we learned already before that a chatas and an asham also is considered a davar hanadur, even though you have to bring a korban chatas because of an aveira, kapara, memashkin and chatas. We force you even to bring a korban chatas. Nevertheless, because you choose to bring it and you bring the animals and choose the animals, so it's considered davar hanadur. And we learn after the word la Hashem that we stretch the envelope a bit and we include a chatas, excluded a pchayr. And so if you say that the food by you is oile, mincha, chatas, toida, shlomim, sha'ani, oichel, ribayu, asa. So there's clearly asa, even though you didn't use the chaf. None of these, you didn't say like a chatas or like a shlomim. Rabbi Yehuda, matter. Rabbi Yehuda is matter. Because we would have thought, repeating the same again, because we would have thought, like I've answered before, that when it's direct, like pigul noisa, you don't have to add a chat because it's clear what you're saying. That your food is pigul, your food is nicer, which is isa. I would have thought the same thing here. When I'm saying your mincha chat, that's clearly what I'm saying. I'm saying it's like carbon, and the different over there, you highlighted the isa. Pigul is us to eat, nicer is us to eat. So therefore, if I say that your food is pigul nicer, it's clear what I'm saying. That it's usher. Here in a carbon, that parts that are mutter, that parts that are usher. So if I didn't spell out that it should be a carbon, it's not so clear. So Rabbi Yehuda would argue here as well that you have to add the chaf, make it say your food is like a carbon. So it's not net. Any of these carbon, if you say true, but you may say oila, the chiddush of Yehuda that even so, it's not the same thing like saying pigul nice, and therefore you have to add the chaf. That's the chiddush in the Mishnah here. What happens if he says ha carbon, or he says kick carbon, or he says carbon she'oichelach? What I'm going to eat by you is a carbon, like a carbon. I will eat by you. In all these cases, us skip. What am I saying? I'm saying your food is like a carbon. Okay. And the last one, carbon, you don't need a chaf, according to the Tanakhama. But if you say li carbon lo'oichelach, or right now we think it's la carbon lo'oichelach, it's a double negative. La carbon, not a carbon. In other words, it's chulin. Lo yachol, I don't eat by you, which means what I do eat by you will be a carbon. That's inference. That's the problem we had before the Gemara. How can a meir asa meir doesn't believe in the shemei hein and vice versa? How can he say this double negative is asa? This is what we had before. That we tight shine and break it into two parts. We say as if you said lik carbon to a carbon, and therefore lo yachol by you. As we'll see in the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Tani, we learned in the Mishnah, carbon, ha carbon, kick carbon, she'oichelach, where the bottom of your Gilam and Aleph. Carbon, ha carbon, kick carbon, she'oichelach, also it's us. L'chayre, stomach, kerameyer, is probably sameir. Why the loishani lan makes no difference in bein imra le makes absolutely no difference whether you have a chafi and any of these prefixes. Now the question is, if it's a meir, it says ha carbon she'oichelach. It says ha carbon that I eat by you. You tell me it's also Tanya. Didn't we learn in that in a brayse moedim chachamim Rabbi Yehuda? Chamoid Rabbi Yehuda. But if he says ha carbon, ha oila. Mincha. Even though normally the Chacham say you don't need a chaf, but if you say this is a carbon, this oil, this mincha, why? Because I'll teach. So it's a funny expression, ha carbon. What you're really saying is that I'm swearing in the life of the carbon that I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Is in Mela, it's not the pshat is that I'm saying that your food is a carbon. I'm swearing b'chaye carbon that your food is also to me. What kind of neder is that? There's no hatfasa here. There's no neder at all. Carbon by saying ha. So the question is, in the fact of the matter is, it's irrelevant that the beginning is a mayor. It's a question of chal. The Brisa clearly says that carbon is not a neder because you're saying in the life of the carbon, so and so, and yet this very Mishnah says you say carbon she'oichlach is asur. How do you reconcile the Mishnah and the Brisa? When you say your food is a carbon, that's what it means. But when you say your food is carbon she'oichlach, or I even use carbon, what are you saying? So we're teaching that carbon doesn't mean that your food is a carbon. Saying carbon, I'm swearing in the carbon that I'm not going to eat, that I'm going to eat by you, or that's Kaddish Hashem or carbon Hashem. Yeah. So this is how we're going to reconcile the Mishnah Brisa. Like Kash, the Omar carbon, the Omar carbon. When you say carbon, or you say carbon, two different words. You're saying I'm swearing the life of carbon, so it's not a net. That's the Brisa. The Mishnah says carbon. I'm saying what I'm eating by you is a carbon. That is a neder. That's something totally different. My time, why carbon come? Let's go to the end of the Mishnah. It says lik carbon, and right now we think it's la carbon, not a carbon. What I don't eat by you. So what I do eat by you is a carbon. I made. I said, we learned before. We treat it. We treat it as if we said lik carbon yehei. It should be a carbon. And therefore, and therefore we won't eat by you. There's a big machlekes is training for goyders word nasa, not. In other words, did you actually say lit carbon or la carbon? Do we say you said la carbon, but we treat it as if you said lit carbon and lo eichelach, or you actually had to say lit carbon with the shua? So next Mishnah, I'm answering my mouth from speaking to you. Or yod. So what am I doing? I'm placing an isser on my mouth, as we'll see in the conclusion of the Gemara. Yodi oisi imach, my hand from working with you, or ragli mehalechim, my feet, my legs walking with you. Us in all these cases, the net is chal. So how can the net be chal? We learned, and we're going to learn later on. But I mean, we learned. There's a chumrah that we find by nedarim you don't have by shvuos, and there's a chumrah by shvuos you don't have by nedarim. What's the chumrah by nedarim? Shahanadarim chalin ala mitzvahs kibirashus. That a neder is I won't. The sukkah is also to me. Then even though you have a mitzvah sitting in the sukkah, the neder is chal on the sukkah because there's no mitzvah on the sukkah that I should be in it. Mitzvahs are meat for walking in the sukkah, and therefore the neder is chal, just like in a shus. But a shvu, if I make a shvu that I won't sit in the sukkah, it's no good. There's actually big machlekes are showing if you make a shvu. Right now we can say you can't make a shvu. If you make a shvu b'koil, for example, you say I will no longer eat matzah. Comes Pesach, according to Rishonim, you don't need matzah because a shvuah b'koil is chal. If I say specifically, I make a shvuah, I'm not going to eat matzah on Pesach, a shvuah chal shvuah. You will swear. What do you mean coming along and saying you're not going to? But if you're, we already discussed where did we swear in Har Sinai? But then if you say shvuah b'koil, maybe since the shvuah is chal on other matzahs, it should be chal on Rosh Hashanah as well. And because the way you're going to be over is by Sheval Taisa, you're not going to eat matzah. We're not going to force you to eat matzah because that's like the Kumba say. And also you're swearing and you're not eating matzah. You're not being mekayin and mitzvah Torah Sheval Taisa. What happens if you make a shvuah to do an avera? Which, let's say you said shvuah, I'm going to eat all meat. Some of the meat is kosher meat, some of the meat is treif meat, and if the shvuah is chal, the only way to abide by it is by kum v'asei, doing an aveda of eating treif and I say, what happens then? Okay, what's the bottom line? What are we getting at? One of the chumras of the chumra of the Nedarim shenadon l'chal mitzvah shus mashenki b'shvuos. But what's the chayim b'shvuos? Shashvuah chalos al davar b'mamish. U'she'ein b'mamish. The shvuah is on me. It doesn't matter what it's about. So I can swear I won't sleep because that's a valid shvuah. Mashein came b'nedarim. By nedarim, if you make a shvuah and a neder, it doesn't work. So how can you make a shvuah that I won't talk to you? And right now we understand when you say koinim pi medaber, the word koinim goes on the medaber, not on the pi. You might have thought right now, I'm asking talking why in my mouth. It's just incidental that I'm introducing my mouth. But what's the isa on the words that are coming out of my mouth? I'm asking to talk. That's what we're going to think of that. That's what I was going to answer. The mouth is in existence. So right now we think the koinim goes on the medaber. I'm asking the speaking, and that's the double shame of mamish. How can we work? He said, no, you're saying that I'm asking my mouth from speaking. Yodi lemaseh, or yodai lemaseh, or raglai, or ragli lehiluch. And therefore, they're all in existence. And they can. I'm saying I don't want to walk at all. I'm asking myself to walk for whatever reason, for a time period of whatever. They can have me approved. Tani says Mishnah Pi medaber imach. Like Tani shani daber. Why mention Pi at all in the Mishnah? Is that it's chalal in Hadna loch kol kinui. Peder sheni. The elu mutari. Since the first Peder talks about what's asa, now I'll tell you what's mutter. Elu mutari. He says. Chulin she'oichalach. Obvious. If I say what I eat by you is chulin, what's the problem? Mutter. So this is only derech agav when you bring it down. Kibasar chazir, that the food in your house or the food on this table should be like a chazir, which is what aser, which is a davar aser. Ka'avodas kachavin, it should be like avodas zara, which is not only aser b'achil, aser b'hana. Ka'odas levuvin, where avodas zara said they used to make a hole in the heart. And in the skin there, and put the hand in and pull the heart out of the animal and bring it avodah zarah. That's called takrevis avodah zarah. That's even worse than avodah zarah. Avodah zarah, if it's a goy avodah zarah, you can mevatel it. Takrevis avodah zarah, you can never mevatel it. Kenevelis, like now we're talking about nevelis of treifus, kishkatzer and muscle, even things which are the size of a dasha, so small. These are all called davar asa, and you cannot make a neder davar asa. Now why not? Why can't you make a neder and davar asa? Big machlekes are showing there, which is actually Yisrael and we always say in Yeshiva you always learn the Gabra and the Chepzer, right? Psachim in a million places. So the Gabra is the person, the Chepzer is on the object, and if we learn in the beginning, the Nedarim is on the Chayfetz, Shvu is on the person, and then we talk about how machlekes Yisrael the Rabbanan are also Yisrael Gabra or not, but Yisrael in the Reis of Treif. How do we always learn Treif? Treif is Chepzer, Chayfetz is Treif. Masheng in Yom Kippur not eating is on the person. Food itself is kosher on the person. That's how we always learn. So if you learn that way, why can't you be matfus or neder and chazir? I'll say this piece of meat here should be like chazir. That's a dover also. Why can't I take the isa of the chayfim here? Because that isa mankind has no control over. It's an isa from the Torah. So who are we to transfer that isa to something else? I can't do that. I can only say a carbon. A carbon is something that we put the isa, replace the isa on this animal, so we cannot transfer it. However, the ritva and some others learn Torah stops, which is very safe. They learn all these Surya Torah Isagav. They say the Chazir, there's no Isra on the Chazir itself. There's an Isra on the person from being Chazir. And Neder is on the Chayfetz. And that's why you can't be matzvus. How can you say that I want the Isra of the Chazir to transfer to the Isra of this piece of meat? There is no Isra on the Chazir. Every Aved in the Torah is on the person. And therefore he says there's no Isra Chayfetz. That's what he punkt verkehrt we always look. Which in the yeshiva world you don't really find it. Nobody brings this tzaditva here and it's a Yosef. But they don't talk about it. Across the board, always. Comes on the Avi Nezer, it's an Avi Nezer and Truva. I can't remember Truva Lamed Zayin. I can't remember if he brings Ritva or just his own word. He has a new Taich Isagawa as well. But then if you relate it back here, maybe it makes sense. He says Isagawa means that the Isar has a negative impact on the person. Isar Chefza means that it doesn't impact on the person, it impacts on the object. So he says when you eat today, if it's Gimel Klipz Atmeis, it affects you, brings you down. So every Isar is Isagawa. And Isar Chefza is where you take the food, which is mutter, and you put something on it, so you reduce now the food from Kedusha to something else. Now, the Chayda Avinezi would make a lot of sense if you say that's this Havana behind the words of it. Okay, so two ways on the same shot. And there's a lot of nafkaminas on Allah begave shvuah. So done, if you can make a shvuah on top of a shvuah or not. So, if I made a shvuah, I won't do something. Then I make another shvuah. Just like I didn't do that, I don't want to do here. If you could do hatfasa by shvuah or not. Anyway, then the Mishnah continued, which we already had a few days ago. I said that thing. I think I said there was a bright section of Mishnah. Kachalas Aaron ukutramasa. If it's like the challah of Aaron, like it's truma, that's also considered davar asa. Now, why is the challah or truma considered davar asa? Isn't something that I have to separate? No. So interesting. Two different interesting ways of looking at it. Why taka truma is not davar hanodu? I have to go to my field, take a section, and give it away. Why is that davar neder? So they say, you know why? The Taisus and others say the reason is, before I gave the truma, the entire field was tevel, tav loy. The entire field was awesome. So what am I doing with the truma? I'm not answering. I'm making it mutter. So therefore, where's the davar neder? If I can't, it's just the opposite. Davar matter. That's Taisus and some other shayt. The Ran learns that no. When is it a davar hanoder? If I'm in control. If I'm in control. But if I put something in the train and then it goes out of my control, then it's called davar asur. For example, truma. I said this should be truma. And yet the thing is now that koinim are allowed to eat it. People are not allowed. I never said it should be only mutter to koinim and to be asur to Yisrael. I said nothing. I just said truma. So what happened then? All of a sudden halachas come in, kick in. Oh, truma, only koinim and not Yisrael. Only Torah and not tamei. Therefore, that means comes under the umbrella of Isser. When is it a neder that I have everything that I said happens and nothing beyond that? Like, so for example, I say your food is usher to me. Okay, so that's to me. We're going further. Or my food is usher to you. Okay, that's
true. You're essentially saying that. It's just a code word.
But you're not saying it. Oh, okay. But you don't even have to have that in mind. You're not modest. You don't even know the halacha, so it doesn't matter. The same thing happens. That's the answer for it. Said the Mishnah further. So in all these cases, we say there's no neder at all. You don't have to go to a rov to be shoyl on your neder, nothing happens. But if a man says to his wife, he gets angry with his wife and he makes all these promises and vows. He says, like Ima, you're usher to me just like my mother's usher to me. Now, l'chayda, she's a davar usher. Your mother's usher, it shouldn't be a neder. But because, as the Ran explains, people were in a habit of making a davar, we wanted to stop them. So therefore, we don't just say go get off easy. We say, you know what? We need to find a pesach for you. We have to find. We got to go to Rov. We got to be mataneder. And Nachmel, you can't say, oh, if you were to realize it's not, it's you just curse your mother out. And, as your mother's a shtikisser. I mean, what is that? That's not good enough. That's called pesach ma'osamak. You need to find a pesach makamachet. If you would realize how difficult it is to live without your wife, blah blah blah. Would you have said it? And it has to be a pesach makamachet. So two didn't there. We treat it as if it's a neder, even though really it isn't. We don't want you to, because this is the most common nedarim that are made, and we don't want them to take it lightly. And also, if we just let them walk away, they'll start making the nedarim that do need our hatorah, and they will think, okay, I was angry, and it's nothing. Shouldn't take it easy. It says in the Mishnah, if he says the food by you is chulin, it's mutter. It sounds like it's not chulin what I eat by you. Then mashma loy lechulin leheve, that it should not be chulin what I eat by you. But what is it? It's a carbon, and that's called inference. Mani mastis, and who's the author of Mishnah? Remember, I made a whole inference. He doesn't believe in that. And even in the case where it's obvious what you're saying, nevertheless, you don't believe in that. The Eller Rabbi Yehuda, no boss. They said Rabbi Yehuda. No, I know that we already learned Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that you don't need. We know exactly what Rabbi Yehuda says. What are we adding here that we didn't learn from Rabbi Yehuda before? So the Gemara, I did liktoni. The chiddush here is the second part of the Mishnah that a davar asur, kibas chazir, kavaydas kachavim, that all of these things is not a valid neder. Mahachitani chulim. That's why he brings over here chulim. That's no agav. No other reason. Nothing else was added at that part of the Mishnah.
It's an all-inclusive.
Yeah. So we're leading up. That's right. No, maybe drawing a contrast. Mutter is no problem. Yeah, mutter, and then davar asur. The Gemara Ravina says no. There is a chiddush. Hachitani. The Eilu Mutarin Kechulin. This is how you read the Mishnah. The following are mutter, just like chulin. That was, you don't have to do anything. Kibasa chazir. There's no neder at all. So when he says Eilu Mutarin, not chulin, Eilu Mutarin Kechulin. The following is nothing changed just because you made a neder. If you compare the food of this person to Kibasa chazir, nothing happens. So the Gemara. So what are you trying to say? Have you eaten like Tana Chulin? The Mishnah would not have given us that preface. I would have thought by Yishaila. I would have thought what? That you have to be Shail. How can you even think so? Tanya Sefer. It says in the Sefer, if somebody says this to his wife. How? In other words, you're saying if you wouldn't have said the word Eilu Mutarin Chulin, I read all that, I would say, look, it's not really a neder, but you still need some kind of a hatorah. That's what you would think. How can that be? Since the Mishnah concludes that the only time you need hatorah is all the other cases, the reisha. So I don't need the words Eilu Mutarin Chulin. I would have figured out anyway. El machvarta, to be clear, chulin memela nas. But go back to the first answer. Says the Gemara, Menohanimili. So how do you know that a dover or also is not a good neder? Why not? On Makro, it says the pasuk Ish ki yider neder laHashem. It says in the double word yider neder ache yoder bedover hanoder. We need you to make a neder bedover hanoder. We had it before already. That what are you? If you're making a neder with hatfasa, it has to be compared to something else that you made a neder that a carbon. Says Gemara, so I feel bedover also nami. If so, then it should also be a neder should also be hatfasa by a chazar as well. Why? Because look at the pasuk. Pasuk says ish ki yider neder Hashem, or it makes a shvur lesser isar al nafshay. So the way you're learning neder that is lindo neder means davar neder, so lesser isar means davar asar. And if you compare it to asar, it should also be. If you take that this piece of meat should be like a shik chazar, it should also be. Look, see lesser isar al nafshay. So it comes to teach you that. So we need that. So the Gemara, no. You know what you need? Less Isra Nafshay. We need it for the Tanya. We need it for the following price. We had before in the Gemara, if a person says he made the chiddush here is a person made a neder that the day of my father's yahrzeit, I will fast. So it's not be'etzem. I made the Isra here. And then a few years later, I say that today should be like then. And the chiddush is, if I created the Isra, not an Isra like Chazal, the Eibush created, I created an Isra, and then I compare later to that Isra, it's Chal. Now, why would you think it isn't? It's like a carbon. Once you know the principle by a carbon, you can be matfis. What is that? It's an Isra I created. Why should this be any different? No, it would be different, we would think. By a carbon, it's now also to the whole world. If I say this animal is a carbon shlamim, it's now a kaidish for everybody. But if I say that my yahrzeit, the only one who has to fast is me, is that really called a dover or asr? Maybe it's such a shvach isr because it doesn't apply to anyone else but me. Maybe it's not transferable. It's too weak to be transferable. And therefore, the chiddush is that even such a neder where it's only asr to me and to nobody else is also transferable. Then the Ran has a very interesting thing. But the Gemara Nedarim asks, even that's a pshita. Even that's a pshita. And then the whole chiddush there really is about Tzem Gedalia. And he explains as follows: that the Gemara there thinks that there's another chiddush involved as well by Young Shemesh brother, and that is interesting word. He says the first yahrzeit of your father, even if he wouldn't have made a neder that I won't eat, you would have eaten anyway. So tzrogan, you're so sad. So the neder is just for the sake of Yisra, but it doesn't really change anything because you wouldn't eat anyway. Especially wine and meat, you're not going to eat. So you would have thought that's transferable. It didn't really do anything. And Gemara said, no, even that's a pshita. The fact is you made an Isra, and therefore it's transferable. And therefore the chiddush is Tzem Gedalia because it's usher anyway. No, you didn't do anything. And then you make a neder. What did the neder added? Nothing. No, didn't add a layer of Isra either because we already had an Isra. Mashallah is still transferable. Anyway, so but Isra itself, like Chazad, that is not usher at all. Machlek is if it's still usher midrabanan or not. Oh yeah, and how you learn it. Yes, exactly. The Ram brings an opinion. Says, okay, whatever. Yeah, but okay, we'll stop here. Continue tomorrow.